Okay, so if you enjoyed me in the last video, I was just finishing off this this deck for this large scale diorama. Okay, so since I've I filmed that, I've actually now lined all the interior sections of the ribs, and I've actually cut the first Gunport opening. So that's what the focus of today's video is going to be all about, cutting this second opening. So in the drawing we need to have an opening of 34mm to the bottom where them linings are for the Gunports. Okay, so what I found out is this, so what I needed to take away this material, it was a perfect 10mm. So luckily in this kit we've got some 2x10, so all I really had to do is just use it as a template, line it on the whale, and then just marked it with a pencil to get a nice fine line. So we're going to have to cut down this section with a little razor saw, so I'm just going to give myself a little line just to make this as square as possible. Okay, so ideally I'd like to get my razor saw in there, but I'll see how I'd have to make some really small cuts. So what I've got is one of these little like more like a mini version of razor saw. They're good for getting in tighter spaces, but as you can see the blade's not as thick, so it just tends to warp a little bit. But for little procedures like this where you just need to kind of just have enough to get in and cut down, it's absolutely fine. So what I'm really going to do to start with is just get this little blade in and just follow this down. I mean, luckily we've got like a rib on the inside there, so we can kind of use that as a guide in any case, so we shouldn't really go off. We're just going to cut this. If you want to, you can put that back as a guide, like a bit of a stop, so once you get to a certain depth and you know you're starting to like maybe score into the masking tape, you can stop, and that's reached that, and then we've just got to do the same on the other side. Okay, so now we've got these two cut lines all the way down. We need to remove this material. So there's a couple of ways to do it. You can get a scalpel, use it along your edge, and then go about 75% that way, and then come 75% that way, and just keep doing that till you're eventually through. So even if you're not going to do it this way, it's still kind of good because it'll give you a nice score line. But why I'm saying only go 75, if you go too long and you don't realise, then before you know it, you could quite easily score into the wood, and it's quite difficult to remove that little score. Okay, so what I'm going to do personally is the same as I've always done, is I'm actually going to remove material either side until I get down to the line. Too much. If you're a bit nervous about this procedure, just you're worried that you'll score it, and then put that spacer back there so you know you won't go any lower than that. Okay, so once then you get to the stage where you're just above that line, and then that's when it's just a case coming in with some files or some sanding paper and just sanding it all nice and flush. And then all you have to do, turn it over to the inside, find the correct space again, which worked out. I know it looks a bit like bric-a-brac, but it was like an 8, a 6 and a 4, so you could cut yourself one solid piece if you want, or if you're lucky you might have a correct piece lying about, and then just mark it and cut it exactly the same as you did the external wall. So just by having that score line, it means that you shouldn't really break off a piece of wood past that score line. Like when a carpenter fits a door hinge, they'll score around the hinge first before they start to remove the material. So by having that score means I can take it almost pretty much exactly right down to the where I need it to be. I don't need to worry about taking off too much wood. So I'm nearly there. Like I say, once you get to about 1/2 mil from the line, then you can take the rest away with the sandpaper. That's about okay there. Okay, so one good thing about this sandpaper block I've been using, it fits about perfect between them two spaces, so yeah, quite happy with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use it on both in this time. I'm just going to go backwards and forwards, and that's going to completely level them to each other. Okay, so once you've cut that opening and sanded it all nice and flat, you want to sand it so pretty much the front face of the wall and the rear face of the wall are all nice and flush with that bulkhead as well. Okay, so you remember back to the first video, the opening between these Gunport spaces ribs was 32mm, so it kind of makes sense now. We've actually got some 2x8, so what we have to do is use 4 pieces of this 2x8, which then gives us a 32mm, which will fill this gap nice. So all we need to do is just, you don't want to be sanding excessive off, so you want a little bit of 1/2 mil overhang on the back and 1/2 mil overhang on the front. And I'm just going to you can get your ruler in there, but like I say, I've lost my my small 6-inch ruler at the minute, so I can't get my ruler in. So I'm going to measure that once I make the mark. I think when I made them ones, I think they were 16mm, which they are. So all I need to do is get my miter block across and cut off 4 pieces at 16mm. Okay, so now we've cut 4 of these little pieces at 16mm. We can now start to glue all this in, just a little bit along that edge. Just stick the first one in. Same again, just feel it with your hand just to make sure you've got about 1/2 mil just protruding either side. So this time I may as well just paint the whole thing, and this time I'm just going to put a little bit of glue just down the edge. Always look for the best sides, and sometimes you get like a better side than the other, so always try and have the best side facing up. Don't worry about any glue protruding, it's all going to be sanded back after. Just a final one, and hopefully this will fit like a glove, and it does. So then just take something with a straight edge, or something flat I should say, and then just push them all down, and then just make sure again that they're running a little bit over on both sides, which you can just see from there. It's about 1/2 mil sticking out. Okay, so you do the top exactly the same, where you just fill the spaces with cuts. Okay, so I'll leave that to dry 10-15 minutes. We'll come back, sand it all off, and that'll be the second Gunport complete. Okay, so now that the glue's all dry, we can now get this all sanded back so it's nice and smooth and can't feel any ridge whatsoever. So all I'm just using this is just a 240 grade. You don't need anything too abrasive because we've already kind of finished the face. The last thing we want to do is use like an 80 grit and start scoring this up. So literally all we're going to be doing is just backwards and forwards, try and do it over both parts so you can keep that nice and flat. So it's going to rub against both sides and use that as a guide to remove all the middle. So if you like just using half of it, you can dig in a little bit more on this face, but if you're using both faces, then it's going to keep it quite even. It doesn't take long for that to start feeling almost there. So I'm just going to finish it with a 400 grade, and then we can just take the tack cloth, go over it, and just pick up all the sawdust. So that's the front face, and then all we do then is obviously on the back side exactly the same, and then we'll do in the middle as well. Like I said, it just fits in there nice. So after some fine sanding, that's the second Gunport all lined already on the front and the back. Some of this sawdust, just save it, because you don't know when you want to do a bit of filling a bit later on this build, so I'm saving it all up and just put it into a little jar. There might be some placing on it, just need a little bit of filling. All I'll do is mix this with a bit of glue and fill it in. But obviously I filmed this video and I'm still waiting on the people's opinion from the first video, because I've been filming a few in advance, so still waiting for people to say whether I should just stain this or whether I should paint it white. Okay, so in the next video when we come back, I think I'm going to turn my attention to doing the columns that kind of support this upper deck, quarter deck. So I think they're going to go in, and also there's some parts, some curved parts that go on this section all that I can fit. And I've also made this as well. I made this from after the last video, so that's one of the gratings. So I think when I did the video from last time, I kind of took a bit of a guess on if this is going to fit right, and like I say, it's pretty much perfect. But only what I didn't take into account is the fact is actually this should have sunk all the way in rather than actually sit on the deck. So I'll know that when I do the next one up for the deck above. But for this one, this should have been 15mm, so I've actually just ripped it down to 13mm, because it will just have to sit slightly on top of the deck. But when I do the next one above it, I will have that sunk in, and then I'll plank around it. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're new. I'm trying to get as many of these videos out as I possibly can while I've got some free time on my hands, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care everyone.